Everybody here on the corner of the street, obviously.
Yeah.
Just want to thank everybody for being out here to stand against a no-fly zone, which is a term a lot of us have heard a lot about in the media. If you had a TV set or a smartphone, you've probably seen those words alongside some sort of iteration of Stand With Ukraine. Include sad image here about war, because war is very sad and tragic, of course. But we're here to give some definitions of what that term is, why it is that us, as the Peace and Freedom Party, the Party for Socialism and Liberation, a coalition of anti-war organizers out here today, are here to stand against a no-fly zone. So we're here to offer some of that definition and say, definitively that we stand against an act of war, which is an escalation that would be a no-fly zone declared over Ukraine. One that would completely fly in the face of the democratic ideals that this country tries to present itself as to the world, and one that we shouldn't stand for even 1 inch here as workers in the belly of the beast. So, as mentioned, my name is Jose. I have the great fortune of running for the U.S. House of Representatives in the 51st Congressional District, which is the district that represents this neighborhood that we're standing in right now. It's a neighborhood that has a lot of what all over the county of areas where I grew up in Lakeside and El Cajon have. It's a lot of people just living in apartments, trying to make it every single day, that don't own the roof over their heads. People who come home from a full shift at work and have to give up most of their money to a landlord. People that have to question whether or not they have money for dental care or if they have money for groceries. These are very working class people, and this is a working class community, and I'm proud to be here in the 51st talking about issues that impact our community, which is an anti-war position. An anti-war position is a pro-working class position, it's a pro-family position, it's a pro-neighborhood decision, and we should all have this opinion as people of consciousness and for people that have values in our communities to be anti-war, and that means being anti-no-fly zone. So let's just talk about the situation. To declare war, the United States has a provision in something that we all probably learned in civics class, maybe, if we had time, if our teachers were able to teach us civics at all, or anything, if we even got that education, that war can only be declared by Congress, right, supposedly. But obviously in the modern era, we've seen police actions engaged by the executive branch. We've seen all sorts of fuckery, for lack of a better word, and excuse my language, to circumvent even that basic check and balance, to engage in acts of war for profit. Let's not get it minced up. It's for profit. So the state of Congress, right, which is the house that I'm running for, the House of Representatives, that directly has a say on whether or not this country goes to war, ultimately is supposed to be the one that makes the decision. But here we are on the street corner of 70th and El Cajon, arguing and protesting the fact that people, especially the war hawks in our own government and the media, are calling for unilateral action to circumvent even that limited fail-safe and that safeguard. And we're here to say that we stand against that definitively. A no-fly zone is an act of war and an escalation. And Congress has obviously taken it upon themselves to not only entertain these kinds of notions, but actually bring them to life, as we've seen with the most recent defense bill that was just authorized, the defense budget, which comes out topping, if you want to add it all up together, to almost $1 trillion. Shameful. $1 trillion for war, while teachers are having to go on Amazon and pay out of their own pocket to put stuff in their classrooms. It's shameful. And so, Congress is united on this. They all voted almost unanimously in favor of this budget that not only gives out billions and billions of unchecked, unaccountable dollars to defense contractors, not to troops. By the way, the troops got a 2.4% pay increase, while I'm sure the defense contractors, if you add it up per capita, got a way bigger increase, cost of living increase than that. But nonetheless, all of that money includes also billions of dollars in war aid to Ukraine. 13 billion at last count allotted, and 1 billion already given up in the form of direct cash payments and weapons. So that's where our money is going. Almost 50% of the tax dollars that we're all coughing up. I don't know about you, I haven't paid my taxes yet. April 19th is coming. 50% of that money is going straight to war. It's not going to schools, it's not going to maintain the roads, it's going directly into the pockets of the war machine. Right, boo indeed. Boo to say the least. They should be grateful that all we're saying is boo with how horrific and terrible a crime that war is for profit in the United States. And this is the reality that in the House where it was first proposed, this budget, this just complete like blank check, Richie Rich style given to these defense contractors, the vote was something like 330 to 100. Like literally just a landslide runaway victory. So across party lines, because the Democrats supposedly have like a super majority, right, in the House and in the Senate and in the presidency, there was across the aisle consent to fund this war budget. And the irony, they just patted themselves on the back and applauded themselves for their bipartisanship of basically finalizing a huge budget while Flint, Michigan doesn't have clean water. Let's be clear. They patted themselves on the back for a job well done, giving money directly into the pockets of their friends while our people are dying of radiation poisoning out in the desert in New Mexico. Shame. This is a class issue. This is a race issue. It's a colonial issue. And that's why, as organizers with the Jose Cortes for Congress campaign, we're out here in solidarity against the escalations, against the beating of these war drums that the ruling class has tried to whip our communities into a frenzy over. We're here to dispel the myths that this war and that us getting involved stands to benefit our communities in any ways. That's a myth. War of any kind stands to only harm our communities, except class war.
Yes.
That's right.
Hell yeah.
So right now, the status quo in Congress is that not only is war just an acceptable part of daily life, it's one that must take up half of our taxable income. It's one that we must send countless young people from mostly, let's just be honest, working class communities to go fight and die over. And so when you live in a society where both political parties offer this as a solid, just like there is no alternative, this is the reality. What are we as workers supposed to do when confronted with a two-party system that stands firmly on the side, no matter where you fall on it, on the side of war? What option do we have? Well, us in the PSL and the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the Peace and Freedom Party and as socialists say, well, we'll build our own damn party of working class people instead. That's right. We'll build it with our money. We'll build it with our hands, because at the end of the day, we build the wealth in this society anyways. We all know that the rich people, the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musk of this world didn't build the roads. They didn't build the houses. They didn't build these electrical towers. They didn't build anything. It was our hands that built it, and for those reasons, we can maintain it, we can administer it, we can distribute it in a way that's better than the way that's been done for us. That's right. We're running a campaign to address the power vacuum that's left for our class in these halls of power. Right now, the ruling class is represented by two powerful parties that stand united on war, the Democrats and the Republicans. We need a party of working class people to go and fight for our interests, because obviously these people who are profiting off of our suffering, off of our children going off to war, off of our empty homes, missing our loved ones that are deployed, off of our people who are never going to see those people, and the people overseas will never see their loved ones either. That's unacceptable. That's an unacceptable reality that we live in. We're going to change that by building our own party that demands things that we need, like housing, healthcare, education, childcare. The main reasons why people enlist in the first place. We're going to address those as a system and eliminate the conditions for needing a 1 million-person large standing army to basically serve as this carrot and stick for the world to remain in just one monotonous, homogenous order known as U.S. imperialism. So, how are we going to do that, right? We're talking about building this party. We're going to do that by doing things like what we're doing today. We're not just going to keep these ideas in our minds and talk about them or share them like there's some precious gemstone that we bury deep in our pocket. We're going to wear our opinions and we're going to wear our politics on our sleeves. We're going to go in our communities and proclaim proudly that to say that people shouldn't be dying on the streets of preventable illnesses, homeless, while there's empty, heated homes sitting right around the corner. That's not a radical position. That's not radical. It's not a radical position to say that there shouldn't be dumpsters filled with usable food when people are hungry on the streets, and because of a profit margin, that's why it has to be in the dumpster and people can't have it. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's right. So what we're doing is we're taking these ideas and we're putting them into action. And we're doing what the bourgeoisie right now, the ruling class, are trying to lie to us and tell us is impossible. They tell us that it's always been this way and that it'll always be this way. But it's not. It's not always been this way. They'll tell us that they're divine almost with their knowledge of the way things work and that it's scientific, it's logical for this dog-eat-dog bullshit that they're spoon-feeding us. But there's nothing logical or divine about cruelty. And cruelty is all that this capitalist system can provide to the majority of its people while enriching a small, greedy minority. And so as workers, as people who are here sharing this same little blue rock, speeding through space at a fucking ridiculous speed, we need to come together to save ourselves, to fight for our own interest, and stop serving the interest of somebody who is obviously time and time again proven to be only our abuser and never our liberator. We need to organize our own party, a party for socialism, where housing, healthcare, and education and childcare are constitutional guarantees, not wishful thinking or stuff that you might be able to have if you hustle hard enough. And we can get there by not having the world turned into a nuclear wasteland with the escalation known as a no-fly zone. We can get to socialism if we build it and if we work for it here. Because socialism is not a pie-in-the-sky when you die ideal. It is a living, breathing economic system made up of working-class people, just like all of us, who came here straight after a shift at work, who came straight after taking care of our families and our loved ones, after taking care of ourselves, that are out here doing the thing in the real world. So I invite all of you, of people here, committed to being good people, to look up what a no-fly zone really is, to look at Liberation News and Liberation School, to find articles explaining these ideas from a perspective that doesn't stand to profit off of sending our loved ones to a war that they stand to lose everything for. They read these resources, get involved in organizing at any level. It doesn't always look like this. Organizing looks like going into your school and organizing a workshop or a study group or something. It's putting up flyers. It's getting things organized to do distributions. It's getting involved and organized and stepping your game up bit by bit. That's what being a revolutionary is. That's what revolutionary change is. So I invite all people here, all people that can hear my voice, that are fed up of a system that tells us we can only have X when we really need Y right in front of our face, that they're dangling it and telling us we can't have it. If you're tired of that feeling, if you're tired of feeling powerless, get involved, be a socialist in action, not just on the internet, and come out and fight for human dignity in the here and now. No-fly zone over Ukraine, disband NATO, disband the U.S. war machine, reparations for the people of the global South impacted by U.S. imperialism now, not later, now. Thank you very much, and come hang out with us, please.